Popcorn Poops is brought to you by Audible.com. Please visit audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for a free audiobook and free 30-day trial of their subscription service. Audible is the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. Audible.com is offering a free audiobook download to listeners of Popcorn Poops along with a 30-day trial of their services. This week, we're recommending A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, narrated by Tim Curry. To download this or another audiobook of your choice, visit audibletrial.com/popcornpoops. Be sure to visit the correct URL so they know we sent you, and you'll be helping to support our show. Again, that's audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for your free audiobook. We are the Popcorn Poops.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Popcorn Poops, the best married couple movie podcast / commentary track hybrid audio program on the internet. My name is Jessica.
And I'm Dustin.
This month, our theme is holiday movies, and my pick for this week's episode is Brian Henson's 1992 film, The Muppet Christmas Carol. If you are syncing this recording up to the movie, go ahead and start the film, and then press pause as soon as the Walt Disney Pictures vanity card completely fades to black.
It's time to start the movie. Syncers, press play at the beep after the countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And we're rolling. So, you're back after a week's absence.
Yeah.
What were you doing? You laying down on the job? What was that all about?
Yeah, laying down on the job.
Because I have no idea what you're up to whatsoever.
Get into graduate school.
Yeah, those are important things, I think. This week we're talking about I think a really good Christmas movie. Certainly one of the best adaptations of Charles Dickens' classic short novel.
Novella. It's a novella.
It's quite short. A Christmas Carol. Now I don't know how long has it been since I've seen this. I guess you probably forced me to watch it at some point throughout the years.
I'm sure you must have had to watch it with me.
But I did watch it when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah. This was one of the movies that at least had some kind of presence in my childhood, but I guess it wasn't too strong. I didn't have like super strong memories of the movie. It was just a thing that existed. It wasn't like, Christmas Vacation or one of the other movies that we've covered. But I've come to see that this is actually quite good.
I love this movie.
It's really good.
It is.
It's kind of lacking some of the wit and the sense of humor that the Muppets had before this. But I guess that's what's going to happen. They do their best to take what is kind of a stuffy Victorian story and make it a little bit, wacky.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that a little bit. I think Gonzo and Rizzo the Rat do all they can to fix that, but it is an adaptation of a Victorian novel, so.
Right, yeah. 1843.
Wow. So, what is your history with this movie?
With this movie, well, every year in my childhood, every single year we watched a Muppet Christmas special.
Okay.
I believe it came out in, I think it was the year I was born. I think it came out in A Muppet Family Christmas is what it was called. And it came out in 1987, the year I was born. And I remember watching that. My parents had a VHS copy of it. And I remember watching it, every year. It felt like every year. That movie, that special, and also it was like a Christmas toy? A Christmas toy?
Yeah, you made me watch that last year, a couple years ago.
Oh.
It's a little janky. I'm going to say it's a little bit janky.
Those to me, and like I said, they were just VHS rips off of it coming on TV. And every year we watched those. And somehow this sort of fell into that group as well at some point in my childhood. This also became a movie that we regularly watched, or we watched often. And I don't know, I just still love it. It makes me feel I'm not a very Christmassy person until it gets right down to it and I'm like ready to wrap presents and stuff. But this year for sure, we haven't done anything because I've been so busy. But this movie makes me just feel Christmas.
Yeah? Does this do it for you?
This is my Christmas movie.
More than any other
Probably more than any other Christmas
So this
movie.
is your
Except
favorite Christmas movie, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very possibly. I mean, this or one of those little Christmas specials, the Muppet Family Christmas or A Christmas Toy.
See, I don't think this is a bad choice to have as a favorite Christmas movie. I think it's certainly good enough, especially like with nostalgia factor and stuff like that. And who doesn't like the Muppets? I mean, I know. Okay, I say that.
You say that.
I say that, but you actually don't really like the Muppets.
It's kind of true.
But you love this movie. How does that work?
So much.
It's Michael Caine's singing voice.
Totally.
Got
it.
It must be his amazing virtuoso level singing voice.
You guessed it.
Is that it?
You were right on.
I knew it.
You know me so well.
But seriously, so you there are a few things that I have come to learn over the course of our almost 12-year relationship, that there are some things that kind of, the way you describe them is they make you feel nauseated. And the Muppets have come up in conversations about things that make you feel nauseated.
Yeah.
So what is that? What is that from? Why?
I don't know why.
And how can you overcome that and have this be like your favorite Christmas movie?
I mean, they don't all make me nauseous. Okay, you know how like when people wear Tweety Bird shirts that say things like "I have an attitude problem" and stuff.
Yeah.
That makes me nauseated.
Yeah.
Right?
Rightfully so, I think.
Okay. It kind of falls into that same area for me.
Is it that they somehow in your mind they feel cheap or something?
Yes, yeah. When they're overused, when Muppets are overused and they're like, I don't know, like what's an example? Okay, for instance, Rizzo the Rat, he doesn't bother me. Because I don't think he's overused.
That's really strange because Rizzo the Rat is like one of my least favorite Muppets. I don't think he's all that funny.
Isn't that like a flea or something? That little Muppet that was there.
I don't know. There are a handful of Muppets that I don't have a clue what kind of creature they're supposed to be.
I wanted to mention some of the stuff that was going on here in this scene where we're walking through the town and we're seeing the vegetables now singing.
Yes, the classic Muppet vegetable chorus.
I guess. Whatever.
Sure, why not?
But anyways, though, so like, it's really weird to me in this movie how humans are just here in this place with these terrifying creatures. Like,
I mean, there are
totally
monsters.
Normal.
These are basically some of
them
are just
monsters.
Clearly monsters. Yeah.
Oh no, it's even worse for mouses. Oh no.
This is one of your two favorite lines in the movie. The other is in the same song. Coming up soon. No cheeses for us, Mises.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute.
Can't wait until we get past that so we can actually talk about the movie. So this movie is actually dedicated to the memory of Jim Henson and Richard Hunt. Henson, of course, was the creator of the Muppets. Hunt was one of the Muppet voice performers, perhaps best known as the voice of the character Scooter. So together, Hunt and Henson performed the characters of Statler and Waldorf, who in this film are voiced by Jerry Nelson and Dave Goelz. So one of the things I mentioned briefly before was that this...
No cheeses for us, Mises.
Are we done? Are we done with that? Can we move on from the mouse part?
Yeah, sure.
I know that's what you've been waiting for. Every Christmas before we watch, this movie, if you watch this movie every Christmas, I'm not even sure if you do. You walk around the house singing this song and you just stop at the part that says no cheeses for us, Mises, because that's all there is. That's the apex. That is the climax of the song for you, I guess. I did mention that this movie kind of lacks the wit and the humor that I think made the Muppets so good prior to Jim Henson's death, and this being the first major Muppet production, post-death.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I think it kind of shows a little bit. I think it's kind of lacking that wit. And that, again, that may be in part because they do keep a lot of the Victorian language. They do keep...
There are many. I was actually going through, and there are so many lines in this movie that are directly from the book.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah. Some really great lines.
Yeah.
Like some lines that, even though they're kind of surrounded by all the goofy little, side jokes and slapstick humor and all of the Muppet shenanigans that are going on around it, some of Dickens' really, really profound lines come through. And
this scene that we're in right now, actually, a lot of the dialogue is straight from the book.
Yeah.
A lot of the dialogue.
I was surprised how well it actually works. I was surprised how well the original text works among all of the Muppet stuff.
The puppets.
Yeah. It's really strange. Like, because it could come across as, disconnected or uneven or tonally kind of strange, but I think it kind of works.
It works. I think so too.
And it is kind of weird how that works, but it definitely
But maybe it's not weird. Maybe it's not weird though, because maybe it's that balance. It's the balance that you find of, like, the Muppets are generally a little bit, I don't want to say they're too silly, because I like stupid stuff. I like silly stuff, but
they are, they, much like, Looney Tunes and many things that have come before.
Like bong noises and stuff, and like...
Well, that, but what I was actually going to say is that the Muppets were originally created for adults. Like, they were adult entertainment.
Right.
The very first Muppet special, if I'm not mistaken, was called The Muppets Sex and Violence.
Are you serious?
I think that was the title of it.
Okay, for my Muppets history, it should be known that I'm pretty sure I've never seen another Muppet movie besides this or the Christmas specials that I was talking about.
What about Muppet Treasure Island?
Okay, I've seen that one.
Okay, but you haven't seen the Muppet movie?
No.
What? What about the Great Muppet Caper?
No.
The Muppets Take Manhattan. What? Really?
No.
You've got to at least see the Muppet movie and the Great Muppet Caper, with starring Charles Grodin. Those are
only
pretty
seen
great
like the
movies.
adaptations then.
That's really strange.
And like I said, the specials and like some other Muppet things. Like, wasn't Fraggle Rock Muppets? Wasn't that Henson?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I loved Fraggle Rock as a kid.
I was saying that the Muppets were originally created for adults, and we still get some of the adult humor. For example, there's a joke early on where someone, I think it's Rizzo the Rat, says something about scarcity drives up prices. He's eating the apples that they're trying to sell, and he's like, well, scarcity drives up prices. No kid is going to get that joke, right? But yeah, I think there's a little bit of that still comes through, but like the Looney Tunes, eventually it kind of got dumbed down to the point where it really is just not for kids per se, but for families. It's not the witty, satirical, even cynical thing that it maybe once was, that you can still see shades of if you go back and watch The Muppet Show. If you watch especially early episodes of The Muppet Show, that cynicism really comes through, especially in characters like Statler and Waldorf, who are constantly criticizing everything.
Oh, are those the old men?
Yeah, the old men in the balcony that are constantly criticizing everything that's going on stage, like the de facto critics,
I love the scene when they pop up as ghosts here, and they criticize Dickens. They criticize.
Yes, they do.
Criticize a Dickens line, and it's
They
like,
do.
whoa, for real?
Yeah.
You're gonna make fun of Dickens?
There's kind of a joke. There's kind of a little joke in there, and they they actually make a reference to Fozzie the Bear, who they're constantly criticizing for his bad comedy. Then they say something like, "Leave the comedy to the bears" or something like that. Yeah. Kind of ballsy, but again, it's Statler and Waldorf, so it works.
Right? Exactly.
So we get to see a lot of the classic Muppet characters. We've got Benson, what is his name? Benson Honeydew and Beaker right now playing the charity workers that come to collect money for the charities, and of course Scrooge has none of that. Bah humbug, as the saying goes.
I love his nephew here, Fred.
Yeah.
I love the actor who plays him. I mean, that's in part because I thought he was cute as a kid, and I guess I still think he's cute as an adult. So,
yeah, Brian Henson, you were talking about the dialogue in this scene, how most of it is directly from the novel.
It is. This whole scene in the office, a large portion of it, like when Okay, so of course, a few lines like "our assets are frozen," right?
Right, yeah.
right, is not. But what what was the one? I didn't write it down, but he ah when his nephew comes in, what does he say to him immediately? Um, ah,
What reason have you to be merry or
yes,
something
yes,
like
yes.
that? Yeah.
That whole exchange right there is it missing like one line in between that they didn't put in the movie is
Yeah.
directly from the book.
Wow. Yeah, I think he comes in and he says, "Merry Christmas, Uncle," and the exchange is, "What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." And he says, "What reason have you to be
Miserable.
miserable? You're rich enough." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not word for word, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close, and
Close
a lot
enough,
of
yeah.
the dialogue in this movie is pretty close.
Well, Brian Henson made the decision to use Gonzo and Rizzo to narrate the story because he wanted to incorporate the narration and prose of the Charles Dickens novel into the film.
Because it's great.
Yeah, because if you're going to adapt it, why mess with it unless, of course, you're making Scrooged, starring Bill Murray, which is an excellent film.
I don't think I've ever seen that either.
You're kidding.
I don't think I have.
Wow, I've got some edumacating to do with you.
And don't act like you're surprised.
No, I'm not. I've learned to not be surprised at the things you haven't experienced. In the film's very first scene in the London streets where they're singing,
It's
the,
Bean Bunny.
oh, that's right, Bean Bunny from. Okay,
It's
so
the Tale of the Bunny Picnic,
oh, okay, that's right.
which came out in 1986, the year before I was born. And Tale of the Bunny Picnic was really important in my childhood too.
Was it really?
It was.
Wasn't he also in a Muppet adaptation of the Velveteen Rabbit? Was that right?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean,
maybe not. But yeah, in the first scene where all of the Muppets are singing the first song. What is that first song that they're singing? I believe it's called just Scrooge. There's a shop sign that reads Duncan and Kenworthy, and the producer Duncan Kenworthy was actually one of the creators of Jim Henson's Fraggle Rock that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Do you know what year Fraggle Rock started?
Oh dear.
You ready?
Oh dear.
1983.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was that early. It was it was one of those things from my childhood as well. But
Did you watch it?
yeah, I
watched
did.
Fraggle
I
Rock?
did. But you rarely have a frame of reference for when that kind of stuff started or when it ended. I just assumed it was part of my generation, which I guess it was. But
It was, but a little before. But I remember it too. I remember it. I mean, Fraggle Rock was a big part of my childhood. So my parents, it must have been like on reruns or something, or they must have been taping it off a TV
Yeah.
and had it or something. Because I watched it a lot when I was a kid. So
yeah, so the first song, I do want to talk about this movie in the context of musicals.
and I did not. I don't know very much about musicals.
Okay,
As a
I mean,
whole, so
I'm not talking about like any deep deep theory or philosophy about like musicals or what makes musicals really good. Just really basic stuff, like how I guess
before we miss it, I loved all the stuff right there about with the rats, like their reactions to
the conversation.
him. Yeah, the conversation that was going on. I think the rats are so cute in the office. The bookkeepers.
Yeah, they're great.
They're
And
really
when they all like stop and watch something and then get back to writing and their little pens are just going crazy.
It's so cute.
But one of and I guess this does come down to personal opinion because there are many, many musicals that don't follow this strictly, but I feel like the best musicals use every single song to either characterize or move the story forward.
Yeah.
I think all of that is
Do
really
you think this movie does that?
sometimes. I don't think it does it all the time. I think the first song, Scrooge, where they're talking
Does,
about how greedy he is and all that kind of stuff, that's all characterization. And I think that that's perfectly acceptable. However, the song that they're starting now, which is, I believe it's called One More Sleep Till Christmas, although it is a great Christmas song.
It's my favorite song in this movie. So whatever you're about to say about it,
All right.
Just be prepared for that.
I mean it when I say that I think that as a Christmas song, it is a great Christmas song. I don't think it's a really good song for this movie because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't.
But you say it doesn't do anything, and I agree with what you're saying about it doesn't do anything for the plot or the characterization. However, what it does do is give some of that lightheartedness to this movie that you were talking about not feeling as much as you want to from a Muppet movie.
I guess so, but I think that a great musical or a great
Should follow
script
the
should
rule.
be able to do that.
I get
anyway.
what you're saying. Regardless of that, it's such a cute song. There's only one more sleep till Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's
how
adorable.
Cute.
It's adorable.
I love it.
No, it's absolutely an excellent song, but I think it's especially because there's a song that gets cut from the movie later on called When Love Is Gone, which is all characterization of young Scrooge and his relationship with Belle.
But it's not cut from the version that is out now though, right?
Yeah, it is. It's
you
cut.
sure?
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is cut from it was.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The scene that his girlfriend or fiance sings.
Yeah. It is cut from. It was cut from the theatrical version, and I believe it was added back into the VHS version and to the Laserdisc and the very, very first DVD releases. But the Blu-ray it's missing from. I believe it's missing from the newer DVD releases, and I think it's missing from all streaming releases of this as well.
And it's I watched it on Netflix when I watched it in preparation. So
Is it missing from that?
I don't remember.
So
I don't remember.
I was saying,
I remember the song, but I don't remember if I watched it this time when I watched it.
Yeah, and I mean that song is, granted, the reason it was cut is because the studio executives felt that it was too sad to be in a kids movie, because the song is literally about falling out of love, you know.
Yeah.
But the song does characterize Scrooge and Belle in a way that they don't get otherwise. So it's kind of important, and especially in a movie that has, you know, at least one other song, this one, that doesn't characterize or move the story forward in any significant way. It's kind of a shame that had to get cut.
Well, and that song, it comes back at the end of the movie.
It does.
Too.
There's a reprise of it, and
Yeah.
there, you know, a reversal on it when they start singing "When Love Is
When Love
Found."
Is Found.
Exactly.
In
So
the finale.
that kind of loses the meaning that it had before because, you know, that song was cut. So, you know, there are little problems like that, like as far as musicals go and like how musicals are constructed, that I take a little bit of issue with. But I mean, it's hard to take an issue with this song in particular, the One Last Sleep Till Christmas, because it is a really good song. So
It's really cute.
so Scrooge is now coming home, and here at home he will meet the first of, I guess, 4 ghosts total that will visit him. It's the 3 main ones.
Did you see poor cold little bean bunny?
Yes,
wrapped up
sitting
in
out in the cold.
newspapers?
Actually, I have a note about that because I think this is the perfect movie if you want to see your favorite Muppets as poor, cold, suffering, sick plebeians in Victorian London. I mean, it's true. It's true. I think no Muppet movie makes the Muppets suffer as much as this movie.
So sad.
I mean, they're cute little felt puppets, and they're like shivering in the cold and dying of rickets and all sorts of shit. I mean, come on, it's a little brutal, right?
So the dead as a doornail thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does
It's from the book, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Right on. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it comes back and it's the doornail and you know.
So do you? I didn't research this, and I probably should have. Do you have any notes on the etymology of humbug?
Humbug?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. No, I didn't think about that.
I didn't either. I was going to research it, but I didn't
I
get around
do-
to it.
I
I
do
figured
on
that would be a thing that you
Scrooge.
would do. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's possibly could come from an old English verb meaning to squeeze.
Oh, really? Like as in to squeeze the wallet or to squeeze
Right,
the
yeah.
last penny out of people. Because, of course, Scrooge is, I guess in the words of
A
the
miser.
book, a miser, a moneylender. His job is
Oh,
to...
well, yeah, his job is he's a moneylender.
Yeah, but I guess philosophically he is a miser. Yeah. So do you think this is kind of a controversial topic or a controversial angle on Scrooge, but do you think Scrooge actually does anything wrong, like really, in the story of A Christmas Carol?
Okay, so now you're getting into the philosophical question of, are we obligated to do things like be charitable to other people?
Yeah, I mean,
Are you
we
sinning by not going out of your way to help other people?
especially not only that, but are you obligated to observe Christmas as a freebie?
Huh? What? Oh,
As
like
as
you
a
mean like
freebie?
a holiday?
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of the core of what makes Scrooge a villain in this movie, and he is really kind of both the protagonist and the antagonist of the story. But all he really does is doesn't care about Christmas and doesn't understand why people celebrate it because he has no reason to celebrate it. But Bob Cratchit asks for Christmas off and he gives it to him. He's just kind of a dick about it.
Yeah.
But he gives it to him.
Well, out of social like responsibility is the wrong word. Like because he
it's
feels
pragmatism.
pressure.
No, it's pragmatism. It's not even really pressure. It's pragmatism because the argument that Bob Cratchit makes
No
is
one's
that,
going to be open besides you.
exactly, there will be no other businesses open to do business with. So opening would
the whole
cost you
line-
more money than
The line
staying
about like
closed.
the 25th is just an excuse to
It's a poor excuse to rob a man's.
is straight from the
yeah,
books
something.
also or book.
Something like that. So because Scrooge doesn't want to celebrate Christmas and feels like he's being scammed once a year because he doesn't observe this holiday that everyone else observes, does that really make him a bad guy? Like, is being just kind of a douche about stuff enough to make someone like a villain and have them be visited by ghosts?
Okay. No, but when we hear Marley talking about him putting, an orphanage full of children out on the street in the middle of snow and their teddy bears being frostbitten, then yeah.
But Scrooge has
That
no way
does.
of knowing that.
What are you talking about? The Marley's saying, "Don't you remember when we did this?"
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about Bunny Guy. The
No.
freezing bunny dude.
They're gonna sing their little song and they're talking about before they sing it. They're gonna be like, right now they're gonna say, "Don't you remember the time when we evicted that orphanage full of children on Christmas and
All right.
put them in the snow and their little teddy bears were frostbitten?"
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
a terrible person.
Yes, that's a terrible. Yeah, of course, that's a terrible
and
thing
yes,
to do.
they deserve the horrible things that
Is that from the book?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not exactly like that if it's in there like that.
Probably. I would be surprised if that were in the book as explicitly as that. I don't know. I think when I read the novel, it had. Oh man, I was a kid. I don't even. It may have even been an abridged version. For all I know. An abridged version of a novella. So
I looked up like synopsis and stuff this time because it's been so long since I've read it, but
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not totally sold on Scrooge as a true villain.
I'm not totally sold
deserving villain.
on Scrooge as a changed man at the end of the story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, can you elaborate on that?
Basically that I think he's just putting it on because he's pissed his pants.
Oh, right. Okay. So like,
It's like, oh, look, I'm a good guy now. I'm good. I want to die.
Change, like forced change by way of fear,
Yeah.
is not real change. Like he hasn't
Right.
really changed his mind. He's been forced to change his
Yeah.
mind. That's an interesting way to look
I
at
also
it.
don't understand why he gets a second chance.
I think he's probably, if we're looking at this realistically, he's probably worse off as a person at the end of this than he is just as kind of the dickish businessman that doesn't celebrate Christmas that he is at the beginning.
How's it worse?
Well, like you said, he's forced into changing his mind about Christmas, which is not a healthy way to be. Whereas before, he is acting, honestly. He's kind of
that's true.
he's
then he's just
he's
lying
a dick.
all the time.
He doesn't recognize Christmas. He doesn't understand why other people recognize Christmas. And he doesn't really have patience for it. But, when his boss says, everybody else has the day off and no one's going to be open to do business, can I please have the day off to spend with my family?
He's like, okay.
He's
fine.
like, yeah, I guess you can. Fine, go. And he does. He gives him the day. Come on. It's not really a bad person. Just kind of a dick, right?
But it's supposed to go deeper into that than what we're talking about. His character is someone who has had this tragic loss of love because of money. lost all the connections in his life because of money. So that's a major character flaw. That's not something to be overlooked without consequence in a story.
Do you have a favorite, like a list of your favorite Scrooge performances?
No.
How many adaptations of this have you seen?
I couldn't tell you another one besides this one.
I have a top 3.
Go ahead.
My top 3 Scrooge performances are at number 3, Michael Caine in this, and then Bill Murray in Scrooged, because it totally counts. And my number 1 is Alastair Sim in Scrooge from 1951, which was released in the United States as A Christmas Carol. And I think that's probably the best performance of Scrooge that I've ever seen. However, there are elements of this movie that we'll get to when they come up that I think have yet to be topped in any other adaptation. Specifically, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think all of the ghosts, except for maybe, the Marleys, are probably the best adaptations or the best versions of the Ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future that I've ever seen in an adaptation.
The ghosts are amazing, but so is that kiss right there on Gonzo's nose that you just missed.
Yeah, I think that was probably improvised.
It's so cute.
It's very cute.
Where he misplaced, he's been looking for his jelly beans, and Gonzo gets really mad at him when he's holding his jelly beans, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I had them the whole time," and Gonzo's just like totally irritated, and Rizzo just gives him a little kiss on the nose. I think so cute.
The kiss scene, I would not be surprised if that were something that was improvised by the puppeteers that they just kind of threw in there, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll keep that. It's cute."
It was really cute.
I did have a note here about how specifically Gonzo and Rizzo not only inject the story with kind of new life amidst all of the old vernacular, but they actually kind of serve as contemporary commentators on the antiquated language.
That's true. They do.
Like, they actually comment on the way things are said in the movie. And
they're definitely throughout the whole movie, they're constant commentators on just like literary references in general. They're kind of meta about it,
Yeah.
Like where they'll say things like, "I'm whispering. Why?" for dramatic emphasis. And what are some of the other ones? Storytellers are omniscient, he says. Yeah,
that was another one. I think that's probably the first time I was ever exposed to the concept of a godlike, third-person omniscient writing voice as a narrative POV style.
And doing it so obviously, like so in your face, like,
so on the nose,
just know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. They just say it outright. Like,
yeah.
I'm omniscient. I'm omnipresent. I am the narrator. Yeah, that's... So what perspective or what point of view is the original novella written in? Is it third person?
I think it's just I don't know. I'd have to go look at it. I don't want to make a fool out of myself because I don't have it right in front of me.
I bet it's like third person.
I know
omniscient.
it's third person, but I don't know if it's limited or omniscient. I'd need to go look at it.
Yeah,
It's probably. I mean, from the references made in this movie, I'm going to guess that it's omniscient.
Yeah. So of course you know that in the original story there was only one Marley, only one Jacob Marley.
Right, yeah, of course.
But they wanted the ghost to be played by Statler and Waldorf, so they gave him a partner, Robert Marley, which actually is Bob Marley? What?
Yeah.
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, this ghost.
Yeah, this puppet right here is amazing. The Ghost of Christmas Past it's my favorite ghost in this movie. I think it's the most unsettling, and just the way it's
so unsettling,
superimposed onto the film.
It's so realistic looking. Like,
it is in a weird way. It's so strange, but I've never seen it done better. In fact, there are reasons why I think all three ghosts have never been done better in any other adaptation. But I think that of the three, this is the most impressive and the most memorable. But yeah, I missed a bunch of stuff. I think my favorite quote in the story comes when he is visited by the Marleys. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's straight from the book.
Yeah.
So, and the best part about it is that they make fun of him for it.
That's the line that they make fun of him. Yeah, they criticize.
They make fun of his pun.
Yep. Dickens, punny little humor they make fun of, and they make a reference to Fozzie Bear by saying, "Leave the comedy to the bears."
Well, I mean, it's just it's so perfect because they're the guys that are constantly critiquing everything, which clearly is a representation that Henson and the people working with him had of a representation of them being irritated by critics always criticizing everything, even when it's good, even when it doesn't need to be so harsh, and just the kind of guys who just hate everything. They hate everything that comes out, and they have something negative to say.
Yeah.
And it must be frustrating to be a filmmaker, to be working in that industry, and constantly have these people who are just always negative. And
well, you see kind of reactions to that crop up in various art forms from time to time. I think one of the worst examples of which is in M. Night Shyamalan's Lady in the Water, with the film critic character who is constantly talking about how he knows the structure of stories, and he knows the structure of movies, and he knows how he's in the situation with this monster, and he's going to escape at the last minute because that's how the stories happen or whatever, and then he gets eaten. And that was after Shyamalan had come up against some negative criticism post Sixth Sense, post Unbreakable, which I mean it's kind of been a downward spiral, but it was really kind of obvious, especially with him, especially with Shyamalan playing the almost Christ-like writer character in his own movie with the film critic that gets killed. It's pretty transparent. But yeah, that does crop up from time to time. But I think that Statler and Waldorf are not. They're obvious. Well, to me, they're obviously not representative of any criticism that Jim Henson himself received, but
just in general. But also, there's the Muppets to me, and maybe this is part of what turns me off about them too, is that it's very like old Hollywood, and commentary, I think, on older Hollywood too, or like more traditional Hollywood than what I'm familiar with, and the kind of critics that were around back then. So I just loved this moment right here where we had Aristotle, Dante, Moliere, Shakespeare, and Dickens on a wall together. Okay, whatever, I'll take it.
With
right?
Rizzo and then Gonzo playing Dickens?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that we had the pan of these statues of these very famous
great writers
throughout history, and then Dickens. And not that Dickens isn't awesome, because he is.
He's great, but
you don't see him,
not typically
on statues
he was kind of
with Dante and stuff.
He was a populist writer, I think. I don't think one would consider Dante a populist writer.
Okay, well, like for example, this novella that he wrote it because he was upset about the impact of the Industrial Revolution on the poor, especially on children, and he wanted, at the same time, there was this kind of rejuvenation of traditional Christmas ideals going around, where the British were trying to like instill a rejuvenation of traditional Christmas, and he was going to write some pamphlets and essays to hopefully spark some insight into the problems of poverty that were happening because of the Industrial Revolution. But he decided that it would be better to just write a really awesome Christmas ghost story that everyone fell in love with, and then like sneak that message in there, which to me is the best writing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think the less on the nose something is about what it's saying, the more it can actually get its message across.
Because your audience is wider, broader.
Your audience is broader, and they can kind of absorb the message without being beaten over the head by it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like, go Moliere, right? Like, I've read that stuff. I love it. I think it's great, but it is very intentional what is the messages that are trying to be given to the audience in these kind of works. And whereas Dickens, you read it and you're just like, oh, it's a Christmas story and it's a ghost story. And at most what you're going to get out of it on a surface level is maybe a religious thing, like a conversion to Christianity kind of thing. But really he had these deeper messages about poverty and stuff that he was actually trying to get across, and he got it across by doing something fun instead. So
I do have a bit of an issue with Gonzo and Rizzo. I do think that they are.
Oh, this moment right here is really cute, by the way.
What is this? What's
where
happening?
where he says that it's the eagle guy. He's an eagle, right?
Yes, it's Sam the
headmaster?
Eagle. Yeah.
And he says business, it's the American way, or something like that. Business is the American way, he says, and then Gonzo whispers in his ear, and he's like, "Is the British way?"
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah. The stuff with Gonzo and Rizzo, I think that the jokes, although they're kind of throwaway, are more or less pretty well set up and paid off. But since they don't really add anything to the story, because the Muppets as the Muppets don't really affect the story in any significant way. Like the story doesn't change because the Muppets are a part of it.
Right.
Or because Gonzo and Rizzo are kind of goofing off and doing, funny slapstick stuff. But with that stuff in there, it tends to feel like the movie is saying, hey, we know this is another Christmas Carol adaptation, but remember, this is the kids' version or something. It feels, it does kind of feel like unnecessary, or I don't know, like because the central story still works so well. I would kind of be, and especially because the characters, like the core characters that are Muppets, work so well in and of themselves. I don't know that Gonzo and Rizzo are really necessary. I think they kind of add a layer to the movie that's kind of this kind of kiddie sheen that the movie doesn't really need, especially because the ghosts themselves as Muppets, or as special Muppets created specifically for this movie, work so well. I don't mind Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit, or Miss Piggy as his wife, or any of that stuff. It's still a Muppet movie, but Gonzo and Rizzo themselves, I don't know. It's kind of.
But I like it though. I like the narrator.
Yeah,
I like the personification. Well, personification. I don't know how to say it. I like the Muppetization of Dickens.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's cute. And I like the use of the narrator in this movie. I like the commentary on literature and on storytelling that we get because of our narrator.
My favorite Muppet is on screen right now. Do you know which one it is?
It's that guy back there with the beard, right?
Yeah, that's Dr. Teeth. Mm-hmm. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. That's his band. Look at him. He's got a big gold tooth and lazy eyes. He's been smoking some weed. I love that they got, basically just about every single Muppet I can think of is in this movie. Like even really like weird, obscure ones.
Well, the turkey from the Muppet Christmas special.
Yeah.
That I was talking about, the what was it called? Home for Christmas, or
not the Christmas toy, right?
A Muppet Family Christmas.
Okay.
The turkey was in it for a brief moment.
It's the Swedish Chef. See, de board. They've got every Muppet I can think of. I think the only one that I don't think is in this movie. Oh, what's his name? He has like a really strange name, but it's the big hairy monster that sings the Manumana song. Is he in this?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he's in this. I don't think I've seen him even in the background of this. So, yeah, I think he's the only Muppet I could probably think of that doesn't have an appearance in this movie at all. But yeah, so we've got Fozzie Bear playing the character of not Fezziwig from the original story, but wait for it, Fozziewig. They don't really do that to any of the other characters, but I guess they couldn't resist.
But in the credits at the beginning, I thought that it said.
I think it does say Fozziewig at the beginning.
I thought it said. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
What'd you think it said?
I thought it said something. I thought it said like Fezziwig or I know Fezziwig is the character name in the book, but
right. No, I'm pretty sure in the opening credits it did
says
say Fozzie the
Fozziwig.
Bear as Fozziewig. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the original character is, of course, Fezziwig. So in this scene right here, we get the meeting of Scrooge and Belle, who will become his long lost love later, and I guess we come to assume or come to discover or intuit, I guess, that maybe his losing her is maybe a big reason why he became such a...
But we know he was on that path already,
Yes,
though.
and that's really why he lost her in the first place, but I feel like that kind of pushed him over the edge.
Yeah. But, man, wouldn't it have sucked if she had married him, right? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that have sucked for her?
Yeah, I think so. And, of course, this is the scene right here. They have a little bit of dialogue about him constantly pushing off their wedding because his business isn't as successful as he wanted it to be. And she says, well, your goal was to make partner, and you're partner now. And he says, well, I'm partner, but it's not as good as I wanted it to be. So, I'm doing this for you. I want our wedding to be great. I want our life to be great. So another year. And the scene ends with him saying, I'm doing this for you because I love you. And she says, you did once, I think. I think that's the line, and she's about to say it right here. Yeah.
Yep.
And what is cut from the movie is the song When Love Is Gone.
But I know the song, so I know I've watched versions of it with the song.
Yeah, and so like their reactions are a little strange, I think, because of the missing song. Like, it goes from her saying, you did once, you did love me once,
It
to
is
her
a really sharp edit.
It is. It's really awkward, to her walking away and Scrooge and Rizzo are crying, and it's like, oh wow, that was really fast.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, guys.
But there's actually a whole like really sad song there that Michael Caine actually sings in as well. Like he walks up behind her. Of course, she can't see him, but he walks up behind her while she's singing, and they kind of do this duet type thing on the bridge before the song ends.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
remember
sweet.
it.
It's
I
a
remember it.
really
I've seen
sweet
it.
song. It's a shame it had to be cut from this movie, but as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I want to see that characterization. I want to see that, the sadness that builds character. That's important.
I feel like there are multiple things in this movie though that are, a little too much for kids that they don't bother messing with. I mean, some of it's kind of scary. The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is pretty freaky.
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I don't remember seeing a single adaptation of this where the Ghost of Christmas Future didn't scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, very true.
Because it basically is, so like the ghost that we're seeing right now, the ghost that's just arrived,
Is my favorite one.
is your favorite. That's
Yes,
interesting.
I love him.
It is, of course, the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is very obviously based on the
Father Christmas,
the Santa Claus, mythos.
The food everywhere, feasting,
And him just being
the holly wreath.
him just being so huge and so joyous.
In the book, he's referred to as a jolly giant.
You know what is missing from this version of the movie?
What?
Do you remember in the original story when the Ghost of Christmas Present reveals like the starving children underneath his robe?
Oh, yes.
That's totally missing from this movie. And that's something that always stuck with me.
Weirded me out as a kid.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that until you just said it.
Yeah, and I forget what they represent, but they represent like the I guess it's just the representation of poverty, or poverty-stricken children that Scrooge has no heart for or no empathy for whatsoever.
I vaguely remember it.
I mean, it's kind of really important symbolism, because the happiest and most joyous and vivacious of all of the ghosts, the one who looks like Santa Claus, is the ghost that lives in the present. It's a ghost that ages quickly and dies quickly and doesn't really remember the past and lives in the now.
And I love in his dialogue how the characterization comes through, where he never remembers what what Scrooge said to him even just a minute ago. He doesn't know what's going on, like, or what had just happened because he is literally living in the present.
He is truly living in the present, and his demeanor is really his most important trait as far as illustrating that is concerned, because he's just happy. He lives in the now. I mean, we that's a phrase that we use: live in the now, be happy. But that idea of the joyousness of Christmas and the holiday season can easily kind of obfuscate or hide the people that are still suffering in the world. And that representation of the starving children under his robe is a really, really important piece of symbolism in the story that Scrooge needs. He needs to see that just because everything seems to be happy around you, and that this is such a wonderful, joyous time that maybe you don't understand, but you see that everyone else is enjoying it, doesn't mean that the suffering that you hear about isn't still happening in the world.
Right. Which was the purpose of this book being written. Right. So
I kind of miss it in this. It seems really, really important to me. And the fact that it's not in here, I don't know, it's really strangely absent, you know? But yeah, you don't really think about it until
I didn't. I had forgotten about it until you said that.
But
the mice.
Yeah,
look, he shrank down.
He shrunk down, and he's gonna hang out with the mice. Yeah, and the present is, as we can see, this is supposed. Okay, if we're being technical, this is the future, because it's
true, because it's Christmas Day.
Right, Christmas Day, a few hours in the future. I do think there's a little bit of weird, like, confusing characterization, or like a strange performance from Michael Caine when he initially meets the Ghost of Christmas Present, because where it seems like before, the Ghost of Christmas Past showed him enough to see where he had made a mistake, and where he had kind of, done wrong, and he's already kind of changing as a person, or seeing where he's messed up in his life and the things that he's thrown away and the bridges he's burned and all that kind of stuff. And even the scene ends with him crying on his bed, and immediately the Ghost of Christmas Present shows up, and he walks in acting like a dickhead again. Walks in like being really sarcastic and cynical, and kind of acting like Scrooge, which to me doesn't exactly mesh with the emotional changes that we see from his performance at the end of the Christmas Past segment. I don't know. It felt a little bit uneven,
a little jarring,
a little uneven. Yeah.
I do feel like this scene is. This section of it is incredibly important, though, for that actual transition to take place, though, for him to really become a character that believes in the story and believes in making a change, or at least the outward perception of it looking like he believes in the change, because he has to learn that there's something to this whole being happy thing, which is what the Ghost of Christmas Present brings him, where it's fun, it's happy, it's joyful, and that's something he doesn't have in his life and doesn't know how to. And he can recognize that he made mistakes in the past, but that doesn't mean that he has any more desire to live in the present than he did before, until he sees someone doing it happily.
Right. His character even changes, like his performance, or the emotion in his performance, or I guess his demeanor, whatever you want to call it, it changes pretty jarringly once again after they start singing the song that they just finished. I guess what is it called? It Feels Like Christmas or something like that. And he changes pretty quickly again, because toward the end of the song, he's dancing with the ghost. He's doing this little back and forth awkward dance, which the awkward Michael Caine dance is just, it is a Christmas treasure. It is a treasure. It is a Christmas gift for us all, as is his singing voice.
Oh, man.
Has he sung yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, he will.
Well, he would have in
When Love Is Gone.
Previous releases of this movie.
But no, in this release, he has not graced us with his
singing voice.
Wonderful singing voice.
We missed the snowman from the Christmas special the Muppet Family Christmas.
Oh, there was a little cameo from
Yeah.
another special.
Yeah, from that special I keep talking about where Fozzie wants to do a comedy act with the snowman in the special, and we just saw him for a second in this movie. And the horse dance is really nice too, where they dance around in a circle.
The little game that they play inside Fred's house, inside his nephew's
from the
house.
book.
Yeah, I know it's from the book, but what is his wife's name? Clara or something like that?
Yeah. Clara.
She comes to that answer pretty quick. Pretty quick.
Yeah?
Don't you think?
Well, they're probably all thinking it. I mean, they must do this every year.
As soon as they come to unwanted creature.
Scrooge.
Like, it's gotta be Scrooge.
Gotta be your uncle.
It's gotta be the guy who's just doing his job. I'm just saying.
You're really rooting for Scrooge.
I kind of am. Like I kind of don't get the Scrooge hate. Like I understand that this is, kind of propagandistic, if that's even a word, but I mean it is.
Say it's propaganda.
It is. It's propaganda. It's propaganda for Christmas.
But it was though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It literally actually was. Like I said, at this time they were trying to rejuvenate the traditional Christmas experience and stuff during that time. However, you should know that Dickens was the first person to make this holiday like a humanitarian thing, to make it like a
about sharing and
yeah,
giving
like
and charity.
the warmth of Christmas and the special feeling that you hold all year, and you have to let Christmas in your heart and all that kind of stuff. He was the first one. I mean, there were a lot of Christmas stories and stuff before this, but he was.
I love Kermit the Frog walking.
Yeah,
we don't get to see it enough in the Muppet movies, but I love it so much.
This moment right here with their little song totally makes up for anything with Miss Piggy, because I really hate her a lot.
You hate her always, though. It's
always,
not just in this. You just
always. I
hate.
just nausea.
Wow, just straight nausea.
Just want to vomit.
Okay, so we missed it, but I have to actually talk about our hint winners from this episode. So we posted our movie still identification game on our social media on Facebook and on Twitter, and we have two people who correctly identified the movie from an image of the goose, the skinny little goose that's roasting on the spit, and that was several shots ago. But Robbie Hughes from Facebook, and he wanted us to plug his YouTube channel, One-Eyed Rascal Productions. And he seems to be a filmmaker who's working on some stuff. He sent me a message and said that he's going to be starting a Kickstarter soon for a project that he's working on. So
Fun times.
Yeah, go check Robbie Hughes out on YouTube at One-Eyed Rascal Productions. And then on Twitter, J. Rafael Trujillo just wanted me to plug his Twitter account at Rafael Sketches. Rafael spelled Rafael Sketches. So go check them out. They did a great job identifying the movie from just a really random, obscure shot, which is kind of the point.
What picture did you show?
It was the goose on the spit, the skinny
okay.
little goose on the spit, before Rizzo falls on it and starts dancing on the hot goose.
Yeah, that would have been too easy.
Yeah, it would have been too easy. So yeah, that's kind of the point of the game, is to identify it from some random obscure screenshot. And most weeks we have people who are able to do it. So go
you
try your
guys.
luck. Yeah, you can find us on Twitter at Popcorn Poops, and just search for Popcorn Poops on Facebook. We post them on there. So here's something that I've wondered about Tiny Tim.
What does that mean?
So Tiny Tim's disease, the ghosts, I would say, more than imply that if Scrooge does not
stop being a jerk,
somehow intervene, that Tiny Tim's disease will kill him.
Okay,
and if he does intervene, then his disease won't kill him?
Well, we're talking about poverty, though. We're talking about poverty. Poverty kills.
I guess, but
if you don't have nourishment, if you can't pay your doctor bills, if you can't put firewood on the fireplace in the winter, then yeah, a kid who's sick is going to get sicker.
Check this out. Dr. Russell Chesney from Le Bonheur Children's Hospital at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in Memphis, Tennessee, says that he thinks Tiny Tim, based on what's in the original source material, he believes that Tiny Tim suffered from a combination of rickets and tuberculosis. Now, rickets is treatable and was even treatable in Victorian-era London. However, tuberculosis wasn't. I mean, he's going to die from it. That's it. I mean, Tiny Tim's disease is going to kill him no matter how much money his family has. I mean, let's be real. He's still living in Victorian-era London, which is in and of itself a death sentence.
Right. Well,
right?
yeah.
So I think it seems hardly fair to guilt trip Scrooge about this.
But I thought tuberculosis was totally not treatable. Are you sure about that? Because I thought it was treatable. I recently did some research on this
maybe it was
something else I'm working on.
I think tuberculosis has to do with your, what is it? Is it that your bones don't get enough vitamins or something like that, or you're not getting enough vitamins, specifically like vitamin D from sunlight? And during Victorian London, during like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the sky would have been filled with smoke and smog from all of the coal burning going on. So a kid who is prone to illness probably would have suffered from rickets and or tuberculosis just by nature of being in a smoky city that doesn't get a whole lot of sunlight. So
it's tuberculosis is it's the one that was called consumption, because you waste it away, and it's like coughing blood and all that kind of stuff.
It doesn't have anything to do with bones? I thought it had something to do with a vitamin deficiency.
No, I think you're talking about polio.
Oh, okay. Maybe. I thought tuberculosis had something to do with a vitamin deficiency.
I mean, maybe, but what I'm looking at right now is it's an infectious disease usually spread through coughing.
Okay. Right.
And it just the statistic right off of Wikipedia says 50% untreated will die. 50%. Okay. So it wasn't totally. I mean, I think 50%, right? And 50% in this time, in this place, it was probably a lot more than 50%.
Yeah, and undoubtedly.
But I think that would be directly related to their living conditions, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It still feels kind of shitty to put all that on Scrooge.
No, but I mean, I think the idea that Dickens was going for was that if we leave our poor in the conditions that they're in, then things will only get. He was trying to humanize them.
They don't even have a chance to get better.
If we help them, that they have more of a chance.
I mean, it is propaganda.
Right, absolutely. It's also probably very heavily Christian propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like literally conversion to Christianity.
Yeah, like you were saying, if it's not like propaganda for the holiday season or observation of the holiday, it is at least philanthropic.
I love
propaganda.
Christmas presents, hair.
Yeah, we haven't talked about them a whole lot, but I feel like
I love the whole costume, the whole puppet.
Again, like I've said, that every single one of these ghosts is my favorite representation or my favorite adaptation or the depiction rather of
the ghosts
of these ghosts. And my argument for Christmas Present, who is arguably the most Muppet-like of the three, is that he is supposed to be larger than life, and in this movie, I mean, he is literally larger than life. His face and his features are larger than Scrooge's, but he has, he is the size of a man. So when he's in the same frame with Michael Caine, and they're looking at each other in the face, he seems otherworldly, but he also seems alive and real and tangible.
Whoever was in that puppet, in that suit, I mean, the gestures and stuff, the hand gestures, the nods, it's just, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Spot on. It's so real. Oh, and I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's pretty excellent. And now we're going to be introduced to the third and final ghost, which is the ghost of Christmas yet to come, I guess.
Yet to come.
And this is obviously a depiction of the death,
Yeah.
What do you want to call it? The image of death that's most popular in Western
And
mythology.
people get
Western?
uppity when you use the word Grim Reaper. When you say things like that, people get weird about it. But I mean, that's often where
honestly,
our minds go when we see this kind of image.
But I don't know where the hooded image of the Grim Reaper originally came from.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, in this novel, he's not hooded or anything. He's just darkness. He's just like a mist of darkness.
Oh, see, but he's always represented as
like a Grim Reaper. That's modern. Yeah. That's modern. A modern take on it, because that's what we associate with death today. But
I have never seen it depicted any other way.
Yeah,
that's so strange that in the novel it's not like that.
It's not that far. Like
there's
descriptions of like him pointing with the bony hand and stuff, but it's not. I don't think there's ever a hood or anything mentioned. Just darkness.
Interesting. Well, I mean, in modern adaptations of this, or at least in film adaptations, he is always depicted as the Grim Reaper character. And the Ghost of Christmas Present is obviously the Father Christmas Santa Claus kind of figure. Because they are taken from, already existing mythos, is the Ghost of Christmas past?
From something?
I
don't know. If it is, I don't know. What from?
Is it representative of something that, if we were to interpret this as maybe like a fever dream, if it's just something that it's all of these things that have been building up inside Scrooge's head, and it does turn out that it is just a crumb of cheese or a blot of mustard or whatever, and all of this really is
he wakes up.
And he wakes up from this terrible dream, and he's a changed man because of all these things that he's seen in his dream.
Or at least he does a really good job of pretending like he is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We can then assume that the ghosts he's seeing, the shapes that the ghosts take, are created from points of references that he already has. So Scrooge would undoubtedly already have the image of the Grim Reaper inside his head.
I don't know when that image was created, though. You're certain
I'm
before?
Certain it was before Victorian era.
1843?
Yes. Had to be.
I would think so.
And of course, the image of Father Christmas was established
right
far before that.
Yeah.
So if we're to believe that interpretation, which is an interpretation that I've never actually heard before, but it seems like a kind of obvious one.
Like the modern image of the Grim Reaper with like the hood and the what's it called, the scythe or whatever.
Yeah, the scythe, the sickle.
Sickle. Yeah, so like that modern image you think was before 1843?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if that's the case, then that's what he pulled it from. But again, he doesn't talk about like a sickle or anything like that in the book. He just talks about.
No, I guess that's
darkness.
true. Have you seen any adaptations where
it didn't look like the Grim Reaper?
No. Well, no. I've always seen it look like the Grim Reaper, but I don't know that I've ever seen one that actually had the sickle.
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
Yeah, cartoon versions and stuff. I think like the Mickey Mouse cartoon version
has the sickle.
I think so. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I still think this is the best one. Like, I love the way the cloak looks and how...
Oh, God, it's so freaky.
Yeah, like the way
It looks like it's out of a horror movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love how the narrators leave us. I meant to mention that. How our narrators check out. They're like, okay, this is the climax of the movie. We're going to go now. Bye-bye. See you at the finale. Yeah, and they leave.
They frame it as, this is too scary. We'll catch you at the end. But what they're really doing is saying, this is the most important part of the movie, and we're not going to
talk over it.
Yeah, we're not going to goof it up or anything like that. Which is respectable, but it really gives you an idea of what this movie could have been without Gonzo and Rizzo, as unnecessary as they are.
But I like Gonzo and Rizzo, so...
Okay. I mean, I guess it's the same way I feel about the song One More Sleep Till Christmas, is that I like the song, but I don't like it in the movie. Right?
I get it. I get what you're saying.
I kind of feel the same way about Gonzo and Rizzo. Like I said, their jokes are well set up and well paid off. and
But
they're
it's not
they're cute.
That's not even why I like them, though. I like them because I like the representation of Dickens in the movie. I like Dickens having a voice. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and it's different.
Yeah, it is. It's different. I mean, what other movie can you think of off the top of your head where the author of the source material is a character in the movie narrating the movie?
I'm sure there are plenty of examples,
are other
but
examples.
you're putting me on the spot. So.
I'm sure there are, but it's cool. It's a cool idea.
Yeah, it is. But you were watching this before we recorded, and I walked in while you were watching this, and this scene was on. And, you know, this happened when I was watching it for research and to refresh myself on it for the show. But there's a point at which the overwhelming sadness and grief of this scene is totally undermined by the fact that you're watching felt puppets. Like, it's at some point.
Our son is dead.
Yes, like, because that's at the core of it. It's our son is dead. I just came back from picking out his grave, and
my wife can't deal with it, and my whole family is in mourning, and I'm a green felt frog puppet. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know.
I've got to say that because I'm even when I read the story, it may have been an abridged version, and I was a child when I read it. So I'm going to say that I'm largely ignorant of the original story. I'm just going to put that out.
Yeah, it's been years, so
full disclosure. But how far in the future is this supposed to be? Like with the death?
No. I think it's really, really soon.
That's what it seems to be. It's interesting because.
In this movie, at least.
Yeah, Cratchit's other children don't seem to have aged all that much from the present that we just saw before that, where Tiny Tim was still alive. And apparently Scrooge and Tiny Tim died at the same time. Like, that's what we're led to believe, because all of the people...
Yeah, I am confused about the timing of the deaths here.
It seems
in the
awfully
future.
convenient that Scrooge and Tiny Tim would die, like, at the exact... Like, almost literally
What
at
does
the
Scrooge
exact...
die from?
They never say.
Being a jerk?
Yeah, just you got too much dick in your heart. And it's got to get that dick out of your heart. But yeah, that is kind of strange. I don't know if and I was saying that I was ignorant of the original book because I don't remember how the original book frames it as far as time-wise is concerned. I mean, as far as we know, it could be two totally different Christmases or two totally different times that, you know, the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come takes him to.
And
but
this death of his could be like, you know, when he's 90 for all we know then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like why are we mourning
We have
over
no
it?
idea. Like the way it's framed in the movie, at least, seems like he goes from hearing people talk about the recent death of himself, Scrooge,
and then finding out about the recent death of Tiny Tim.
Exactly, where like so
who was
recent,
still little enough to have the same crutch and the same hat and everything.
Right. Well, and it was exactly because, you know, this is probably the very, very, very near future, perhaps 1 year removed from this point at the most, maybe. And the death is so recent that Scrooge's death is so recent that people are just now like trying to sell off his goods
and saying like the bed sheets are still warm and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tiny Tim's death is so new that Bob Cratchit just came out from picking out his gravesite.
Yeah,
where he can see the ducks from the hillside.
So they died at like the
exact same time. Yeah, exact same time.
Yeah, it is confusing, and I don't know, if the book makes it less confusing or not. Before this movie ends and we get too far away from it, just some things about the book itself, about the novella. Do you know this book has never been out of print?
I did not know that.
It has never been out of print since 1843.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Is there any book that's beaten that record?
I don't know. Probably.
The Bible?
Probably. Yeah. But, yeah, it's never been out of print. And what I was saying before about conversion and stuff, I really feel there is a strong message. And I think this movie in particular does a really great job of, even right now, he's praying, and I don't feel like it's religious. I don't feel like it's like overtly Christian. Like, I know he's praying, but it's not overtly Christian in this movie. And
it's not, but there are some Christian references in the movie.
There are, but I think they do it really, really lightly. Considering the fact that I think that this movie is not this movie, that the source material is very much in part a message of conversion specifically.
Right.
There's Dickens' first novel, often called the Pickwick Papers, was at one point in the novel a mean sexton goes through a Christmas conversion after goblins come and show him the past and future.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I see.
So, and it's very likely that this was, in large part, the origins of this story, at least in his mind, that it was reworked over the years and that it was part of what helped him to write this story. But that's a conversion story, and then we have this. And he even in the Marley scene in the book, he even makes a comment about swallowing a toothpick and being persecuted by a legion of goblins, all of his own creation, for the rest of his days. Again, mentioning goblins and stuff, like, I just think it really was probably from that original story. And and so I think those themes came through still, the Christian themes. Also, Dickens was with the group of many people who regarded fairy tales as conversion stories, as transformation and conversion stories, and fairy tales and nursery stories and stuff were a big part of his influence on writing this story too. Yeah.
So this scene right here where Scrooge approaches the charity workers that he dismissed earlier in the movie, in one of the first scenes of the movie, he offers a donation that we don't know exactly how much it is.
Because he whispers it.
And that's fine. I think that in some small way kind of contributes to the timelessness of this story, is that it's not set in any.
We don't have to hear a number and be like, I wonder what that is today.
Yeah, exactly. Although he does pay, what is it, 5 shillings or something? He gives the boy 5 shillings for the turkey. But this scarf that he receives from Beaker, the way he reacts to it, do you get the feeling that it's the first gift he's ever received for Christmas?
Maybe. I mean, he missed all the Christmases when he was a kid.
That's kind of the note that I get from that particular bit of his performance. And now we're hearing Michael Caine sing, or I should say, quote unquote, sing.
Is this your favorite part of the movie?
No, I think. I
is
think
the dance your favorite part of the movie?
Okay. The dance is a treasure, like I said.
It's a treasure.
It's a goddamn Christmas miracle. But I know certainly, I mean, it's obvious that they cast Michael Caine for his ability to perform as Scrooge and not for his singing voice, because he's awful. He's an awful singer. He's terrible. Does that not get to you? Like, does it not bother
Johnny.
you?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear it. But whatever. I don't care. He only sings for like 5 seconds in this movie.
He does, but my goodness.
And he just still sounds like Michael Caine, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Look, he gave coal to all the rats, all the bookkeepers.
Oh, he did.
So they can get warm.
I mean, that's good, but there's also a different context for that.
Right.
Because
they're naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're spoiled people who have heaters and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Back then.
Back in the day, coal was like, oh, sweet, I'm not going to freeze to death.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. The shop they're passing now is called Statler and Waldorf. You can see it behind that wreath, like the characters, Statler and Waldorf.
Okay. I love the look on their faces right here of his nephew and his nephew's wife.
Clara's reaction is great, but Fred is just terrified. He doesn't know what to think.
He just can't even. He does like a triple take.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's good
and look,
stuff.
Bean Bunny's still running around with the turkey.
Oh, and I don't know if you caught this before, but he went to see old Fozziwig and his old headmaster right here and brought them presents. Because I guess they're still alive?
Yeah.
They must be like 100 and something.
Yeah, sure.
So we're closing in on the end of the movie. Actually, we're when he gets into Bob Cratchit's house here in a minute. We're gonna get that bit of the reprise of the song "When Love Is Gone," where they say "When Love Is Found." Again,
has he given the cheese to the Mises?
I think he did. Yeah, he did.
Man, I missed it.
Yeah, he passed by their little hole and
gave him some cheeses.
And patted them on the head.
That's so cute.
They finally got their cheeses.
They got their cheeses.
They sure did.
Yeah, that's really cute.
So, how do you feel about Scrooge knocking on the door and pretending to still be an asshole?
Yeah, it's kind of awful, huh?
Yeah, it's like really? Have you?
By the way, also every time
much,
we see this door, like right now, even it looks kind of pinkish or brown pinkish or something like that. The scene where Tiny Tim is dead, it is red as hell. It is red.
You think that's an artistic choice?
Probably, yeah. That's why I'm saying something, is because it really stuck out to me. One thing we haven't talked about that I at least just want to mention, because it kind of drives me crazy that people don't really talk about this. This is a ghost story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that comes from a long, long tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas that we've lost, and that makes me so sad.
That I did not know.
Yeah, it comes from a long tradition in the mid 19th century. I mean, that's what you did. You told in like England.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we've offloaded all of that culture or all of those customs onto Halloween.
Yes, true. But that probably comes from a mixture of other cultures, customs, and stuff in its own,
Sure, but they weren't celebrating Halloween in Victorian London.
No, but other countries were celebrating at that time.
Yeah.
And telling ghost stories at that time, and we just adopted both of them into our culture. But anyways, though, we've lost that in the Christmas culture. If everybody told ghost stories at Christmas, I would be way more into Christmas all the time. Like, another excuse to tell ghost stories and watch ghost story movies? I'm so disappointed. It really upsets me that we've lost that tradition. But there are a lot of great stories out there, like short stories and novels and stuff, that are Christmas ghost stories. Way spookier than Christmas Carol, too.
I mean, if you think about the birth of Christ story, if you consider the angels in the story to be ghosts, it's kind of a ghost story.
I guess so. I guess you could swing that.
I mean, there's that supernatural element to it, sure.
But yeah, on Christmas Eve, that was...
Now they're singing the Love Is Found song that we talked about. Now, here's another weird thing. The last song that plays in the end credits is a pop version of When Love Is Gone, sung by Martina McBride.
I read that.
Isn't that...
Those are lobsters in the window right there.
I mean,
bye-bye. The mice said goodbye.
Did they say bye-bye?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great and all that he brings that giant turkey to Bob Cratchit's house, but there's not a lot of point in bringing a big-ass turkey to your poor worker's house when you bring a fuck ton of people along to eat all of it. Because he brought, like, the whole town to eat that one turkey.
Also, I love that Gonzo at the end is just like, you should read the book. I like that. I like throwing
that is nice.
Throwing the little... He was like, if you like this, you should read the book. It's cute.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I like it.
I would agree with that. Very much so. Cool. Do you have any final thoughts about the Muppet Christmas Carol?
I'm ready for Christmas now.
Are you?
It's okay. It can come now, even though I haven't bought any presents or wrapped them or decorated anything.
We got our tree up.
But I've sent some applications to grad school.
Well,
so
that's something. We can hope for a Christmas miracle as far as that's concerned. But anyway, now that we've reached the end of the movie, we'd like to read a 5-star review that we received on iTunes. However, we've still yet to receive any 5-star reviews on iTunes. If you leave one for us, it really does help us out. It gets us on the charts on iTunes. The more activity there is on our podcast on the iTunes directory, the more it pops up under recommendations. So if you do like our show and you want us to grow and have a bigger listener base, which we would really like, that would really, really help us out.
So if you'd like to leave us a rating and review on iTunes, we would really love it. And if it's a 5-star review, we'll even read it on the show.
As always, you can find us on our website at popcornpoops.com. Please follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook if you'd like to receive updates about the show, including our weekly movie still identification game. If you have a question, comment, or movie request for us, you can reach us on our social media outlets or by emailing us at thepopcornpoops@gmail.com.
Next week, we're taking a week off for the holidays, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode and a new monthly theme. All throughout January, we'll be covering video game adaptations.
Yeah, so keep an eye on our social media because we will be posting the movie still identification game for the first movie of January, the video game adaptation month. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. And thanks for listening, and until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
We are the Popcorn Poops.
Hey there, listeners. My name is Ray.
And I'm Luke. Together we are
the Super Hammered Brothers. On our podcast, we talk about video games, anime, comics,
and so much more. Hit a clip from one of our episodes.
I am a huge Fire Emblem fan. I play Fire Emblem. I get a blast out of it instead of Marth. Marth, you can leave Marth, you know? Marth, just go.
Why was that thing against Marth?
Marth is boring. He is the boringest guy in history.
He's like Goku. He's like a guy who comes in and say, "Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here to help you save everybody." I mean, like...
No, Goku's funny because he's stupid. Forget Marth and then bring back Roy. That's what I say.
So if you can listen, Nintendo, we're gonna hashtag bring Roy back.
Roy's our boy. It should be Roy, Ike, Lucina, and Robin. That's who you need. Forget Marth. We don't need Marth. Lucina's Marth, and she's better than him. We're done. If you're interested in hearing more from us, go to our website, superhammeredbros.com.
You can also listen to us on iTunes, watch us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter.
Once again, we are the Super Hammered Brothers, and we hope you will geek out with us.